It's strange how your brain picks up on patterns before you consciously realize something's wrong. For months, I'd been noticing my wife Allison's sudden interest in her professional development. 3, sometimes 4 hours every evening, hunched over her phone, scrolling through LinkedIn. Yet she never mentioned networking events, job opportunities, or industry connections. I'm Alex, 41. I restore and preserve historic architecture, own a specialized firm that works on landmark buildings across the country. Allison, 39, is a veterinary radiologist at a specialty animal hospital. We've been married for 11 years, no kids by mutual choice, which gave us the freedom to build our careers and travel extensively. The first red flag appeared 6 months ago. Allison started bringing her work tablet home, something she'd never done before. New protocol? She explained when I asked. We need to be available for emergency consultations on difficult cases. I accepted this without question. Trust had never been an issue between us. Then came the LinkedIn obsession. Every night after dinner, she'd retreat to the couch or our bedroom, endlessly scrolling. Whenever I'd walk by, she'd angle the screen away or quickly switch to another app. Just catching up on veterinary journals, she'd say with a dismissive wave. The third flag was the password change. Allison and I had always shared our phone passwords, not because we snooped, but for practicality. Suddenly, her phone was locked with a new code she forgot to tell me about. Still, I said nothing. Made excuses for her in my head. Maybe she really was focused on advancing her career. Maybe I was being paranoid. Until last Wednesday night. I came home early from a client meeting to find Allison in our bedroom, so engrossed in her phone that she didn't hear me enter. I caught a glimpse of her screen over her shoulder. Definitely not LinkedIn's professional blue interface, but the direct message section. A man's profile picture was visible. The messages made my stomach drop. I miss how your body feels against mine. Allison's reply, patience, working on untangling things here. It's complicated. His response, 11 years seems like a long time to waste with the wrong person. I stepped back into the hallway, my mind racing, took a deep breath, counted to 10, then walked in normally as if I'd just arrived. Hey, how was your day? I asked casually. She jumped slightly, locking her phone. Fine. The usual. How was your meeting? Ended early. What are you working on? I nodded toward her phone. Just LinkedIn. Boring work stuff. I sat on the edge of the bed. Kept my voice even. Allison, I saw the messages. Who's David? Her expression cycled through shock, denial, and finally cold defiance. You were spying on me? No. I walked in and saw your screen. Who's David? She sat up straighter. An old friend. We're just catching up. I miss how your body feels against mine. Is catching up? Her eyes narrowed. You're taking that out of context. What possible context would make that appropriate between a married woman and another man? We have history, she said defensively. It's complicated. Complicated how? You either respect our marriage or you don't. She crossed her arms. It's just harmless flirting. Everyone does it. I don't, I replied, and neither should you. God, Alex, she huffed. You're making this into such a bigger deal than it is. We're just talking. About how he misses your body? About how you've wasted 11 years with the wrong person? My voice remained calm, but I could feel my pulse rising. That's not just talking, Allison. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand how you could betray my trust like this. Betray? She laughed, a harsh sound I'd never heard from her before. It's text messages, not an affair. An emotional affair is still an affair, I countered. And based on what I saw, you're planning for more than just messages. You saw a 10-second snippet of a conversation. You have no idea what's really going on. I looked at her directly. Then enlighten me. Show me your phone. Let me see for myself what's really going on. Her expression hardened. Absolutely not. I have a right to privacy. Not when it comes to other men discussing your body and disparaging our marriage. You're overreacting. Am I? Then prove it. Show me there's nothing to worry about. She clutched her phone tighter. I'm not giving you my phone just because you're insecure. This is controlling behavior, Alex. I took a deep breath. Let me be very clear, Allison. This isn't about control. It's about trust. Trust that you've clearly broken. So I'm going to make this simple. Password or divorce? Your choice. She stared at me for a long moment, then deliberately locked her phone and rolled over. I'm going to sleep. We can talk about your trust issues tomorrow." In that moment, everything became clear. I didn't need to see more messages, didn't need to hire a PI or check phone records. Her response told me everything. I waited until her breathing steadied with sleep. Then I got up and went to my study. This wasn't the first time I'd considered our marriage might be in trouble. I'd actually consulted with my attorney 3 months prior when I first noticed Allison's secretive behavior, just to understand my options if things deteriorated. I called him at his home number, apologizing for the late hour. As a longtime client and friend, he understood the urgency. We discussed the situation, and he agreed to have preliminary paperwork prepared for review by early morning. At 5:30 a.m., I went to our closet and quietly packed my essential belongings, enough clothes for 2 weeks, important documents, irreplaceable mementos. Loaded everything into my car. Then I returned to the kitchen and executed the plan I'd formed overnight. First, I transferred half the funds from our joint accounts to my new personal account, legally appropriate as a pre-divorce protective measure in our state. I left the other half untouched, ensuring Allison would have immediate access to funds during the transition. Second, I followed up with my lawyer, who had divorce papers prepared based on our earlier conversation and midnight update. He arranged for electronic filing to open when courts opened at 9 a.m., and a courier to deliver my copy by 8:30. Third, I contacted my office manager, who started work at 6 a.m., to make necessary arrangements. Allison's health insurance was through my company's plan, and she occasionally used one of our company vehicles for emergency hospital visits. We decided that her health insurance would continue until the divorce was finalized as legally required, but made arrangements regarding the vehicle access within the standard 30-day period our policies specified. Fourth, I emailed our property manager to inform him I'd be moving out temporarily, but as the sole owner of the condo, purchased before our marriage, with money from a restoration project I completed before we met, and maintained entirely with funds from my separate account throughout our marriage, I would continue making payments. Allison would need to make arrangements within 60 days, double the legally required notice in our state. By 8 a.m., the papers had arrived. I placed them on the kitchen table with a note. "Allison, your silence was your choice. These are mine. You have 60 days to make new living arrangements. All communication should go through my lawyer, Alex." I left my house key and wedding ring on top of the papers, took one last look around the home we'd shared, then walked out the door. At 8:43 a.m., my phone exploded with notifications. Allison had woken up to an empty closet and divorce papers. Her calls, texts, and emails poured in. "This is insane. Call me right now. You're throwing away 11 years over nothing. You can't just kick me out. This is my home too. Answer your phone." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I checked into the extended stay hotel I'd arranged that morning, set up my workspace, and continued my workday as scheduled. Allison's next move was predictable. She called my parents, my sister, even my college roommate, told them I'd lost my mind and was making wild accusations about her friendship with an old colleague. I had anticipated this. Before she could spin her narrative, I'd sent brief, factual messages to key family members. "Allison and I are divorcing due to her infidelity. I have evidence but prefer to keep this private. I'm safe and staying elsewhere for now. I'll explain more when I'm ready. No drama, no details, just facts." By evening, Allison had shifted from anger to bargaining. Her messages took a desperate tone. "Can we please just talk about this? I'll give you my password now. It was a stupid conversation that meant nothing. Please come home. We can fix this." I maintained my silence. Her words meant nothing against her actions. The next day, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. David. Allison had given him my private number. "Look, man, there's been a misunderstanding. Allison and I are just old friends. Nothing physical has happened." I cut him off. "I don't care what you and Allison are. That's no longer my concern. Please don't contact me again." I hung up and blocked his number. 3 days later, Allison showed up at my office. My receptionist, who had been briefed on the situation, stopped her in the lobby. Allison created a scene, crying and demanding to see me. Building security escorted her out. That evening, I received an email from her with screenshots of their LinkedIn conversations, claiming they proved nothing inappropriate had happened. But she'd only included recent sanitized messages, a laughable attempt at damage control. What she didn't know: I'd maintained our home router's connection logs as part of regular maintenance. Every device that connected to our Wi-Fi had its basic connection data recorded. Not content, but timestamps and service information. The logs showed her spending hours connected to LinkedIn servers during the exact time she claimed to be researching cases. While I couldn't see specific message content, the pattern matched perfectly with her suspicious behavior. More importantly, her work tablet frequently connected to our Wi-Fi during these sessions, contradicting her claim that she was using it exclusively for emergency consultations. I didn't need to see the content of those thousands of messages. The patterns told the story. 1 week into our separation, Allison's animal hospital announced budget cuts, including eliminating her position. Her timing couldn't have been worse. With no income, she faced the prospect of finding both a new job and a new place to live. I instructed my lawyer to ensure her health insurance continued through COBRA as legally required, with the initial premium covered as part of our eventual settlement. She tried using this to garner sympathy, sending messages about how I was leaving her destitute at the worst possible time. I forwarded these to my lawyer without response. My lawyer advised me Allison had hired an attorney known for pursuing substantial settlements. Their first demand: half the value of our condo, ongoing spousal support, and a portion of my business. My lawyer's response included comprehensive documentation: the property deed showing I purchased the condo 2 years before our marriage with profits from a major restoration project, bank records confirming I had made every mortgage payment from my separate account throughout our marriage, and our prenuptial agreement, which Allison had apparently forgotten, specified that infidelity, even emotional infidelity with documented intent to leave the marriage, was grounds for limiting certain financial considerations. Their demands were swiftly reduced. After the mandatory waiting period in our state, 90 days, the divorce proceedings continued. The final settlement was reasonable. Allison received a one-time payment equivalent to 6 months of her former salary, her personal belongings, and continued health insurance coverage for 6 months. Her access to any company resources was terminated, as our policies required. The divorce was finalized within 6 months, faster than the state average of 9 to 12 months for contested divorces. It's been a year now. I've moved back into my condo after having it completely redecorated. Nothing remains to remind me of Allison. Last week, I received a handwritten letter from her, forwarded through my lawyer. She wrote about regrets, poor decisions, and second chances. Said she'd never stopped loving me. That David was a mistake she'd pay for the rest of her life. I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned should remain ashes. People ask if I regret acting so decisively, if I should have considered counseling or forgiveness. My answer is always the same. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Allison showed me exactly who she was when she locked her phone and rolled over that night. She chose secrecy over honesty, deception over truth. In that moment, our marriage ended. I just handled the paperwork. I don't hate Allison. I don't waste energy on bitterness. But I don't regret my decision either. Self-respect demands certain boundaries. When those boundaries are crossed, a real man doesn't negotiate, plead, or bargain. He simply walks away and rebuilds. Edit. Thanks for all the comments and support. I see some recurring questions, so I'll address them. 1. Why didn't I check her phone while she was sleeping? Because I didn't need to. Her refusal to show me was confirmation enough. I'm not interested in cataloging the details of betrayal, just recognizing when it happens. 2. Was I too harsh with the 60-day notice? No. The condo was legally mine, purchased before marriage with money from a solo project, which remains separate property in most jurisdictions, and maintained entirely with my separate funds. I gave her twice the legally required notice period, and she had immediate access to half our joint accounts for expenses. 3. Did I ever find out who David was? He was her veterinary school classmate who became the one that got away in her mind. LinkedIn reconnected them when he viewed her profile. The irony: He's now married with 3 kids and was never going to leave his family. Alicent was just his ego boost. No. 4. For those asking about the legality of the router logs, as the person who set up and maintained our home network, the basic connection logging was standard practice for troubleshooting. I never accessed message content or installed monitoring software on her devices. I simply observed connection patterns to services like LinkedIn. 5. Some have questioned whether I moved too quickly with the divorce. Remember, I'd already consulted my lawyer months before when I first noticed her behavior changing. The groundwork for action was already in place, not a rash overnight decision. 6. For those calling me cold or calculating, when your spouse is carrying on an emotional affair and refuses to come clean when directly confronted, what exactly is the alternative? Begging for honesty? Pretending it isn't happening? I chose clarity and decisiveness over prolonged pain. Sometimes the cleanest break is the kindest one, for both people.